Admiral James Reed stood at the observation deck of the Earth Defense Force flagship, his weathered face reflecting in the reinforced glass as he stared into the vast emptiness of space. But today, that emptiness had yielded something extraordinary. A fleet of massive ships, their dark hulls stretching for kilometers, floating silently at the edge of known space. Quite the discovery, wouldn't you say, Admiral? The voice belonged to First Speaker Revan of the Galactic Council, his tall, slender form moving to stand beside Reed. The alien's silvery skin caught the light of distant stars, but his expression carried a hint of mockery. Reed nodded slowly, keeping his face neutral. After 20 years of representing humanity in galactic affairs, he had learned to control his reactions to alien condescension. Indeed, First Speaker, our scanners indicate these ships are ancient, perhaps older than the Council itself. A burst of chittering laughter came from behind them. A group of alien diplomats had gathered, their various forms, some insectoid, others vaguely humanoid, clustered around holographic displays showing scans of the derelict fleet. "Look at the hull design," one of them said, mandibles clicking in amusement. "Such crude materials. They probably couldn't even achieve proper faster-than-light travel." Reed's jaw tightened slightly. He watched as more alien diplomats joined in, each offering their own criticism of the mysterious fleet's primitive design. Their laughter echoed through the observation deck, a symphony of different species united in their derision. But Reed wasn't listening anymore. His attention had shifted to Lisa Miller, one of Earth's top engineers, who stood apart from the group, her face scrunched in concentration as she studied the detailed scans. Something about her expression made him walk over. "What do you see, Engineer Miller?" he asked quietly. Lisa jumped slightly, then looked up at him with puzzled eyes. "Sir, these ships, there's something familiar about their construction. The way the hull plates are arranged, the positioning of what appears to be the engine housing." She paused, shaking her head. "It reminds me of old Earth shipbuilding techniques, but that's impossible. These ships are at least 10,000 years old." Before Reed could respond, a young lieutenant burst onto the deck, his face flushed with excitement. "Admiral, we've managed to get closer scans of the fleet's flagship. You need to see this immediately." The lieutenant's voice carried across the room, drawing the attention of the alien diplomats. They gathered around as he projected a new hologram, a massive image of the flagship's bow. There, barely visible beneath centuries of space dust, was a series of markings. The alien diplomats leaned forward, their translation systems working to decipher the ancient text. But Reed didn't need a translation. His heart nearly stopped as he read the clearly visible English letters. EDF Eternal Dawn, Earth Defense Force. The laughter died instantly. Silence fell over the observation deck like a heavy blanket. Reed could feel the aliens' eyes on him, their previous amusement replaced by something else. Uncertainty, perhaps even fear. "Impossible," First Speaker Revan whispered, his silvery skin taking on a paler shade. "Your species only achieved spaceflight 3 centuries ago." Reed stepped closer to the hologram, his hand reaching out to trace the letters in the air. "So we thought," he said quietly. "So we all thought." Lisa Miller had already pulled out her tablet, her fingers flying over the surface. "Admiral, these ships, if they're really of Earth origin, they're not just old. They're advanced. The energy readings we're getting, even in their dormant state, suggest technology far beyond our current capabilities." The alien diplomats began speaking in hushed tones, their previous mockery forgotten. Reed could see them reassessing, recalculating their view of humanity. But his mind was already racing ahead, filled with questions that demanded answers. Who had built these ships? Why had humanity forgotten them? And most importantly, what other secrets did this ancient fleet hold? As if in response to his thoughts, the distant flagship's running lights suddenly flickered, a brief, weak pulse of life from a sleeping giant. The story of humanity's past was about to be rewritten, and James Reed had a feeling the aliens wouldn't be laughing anymore. Captain Mark Anderson floated through the silent corridors of the ancient flagship, his helmet lights cutting through decades of darkness. The beam caught floating specks of dust, making them dance like stars in the emptiness. Behind him, the soft hum of magnetic boots told him his team was following closely. "This is incredible." Dr. Elizabeth Wells's voice crackled through the comm system. "The hull integrity is nearly perfect after all these years. They don't make them like this anymore." Anderson smiled inside his helmet. The alien observers had insisted on sending their own research team, but they were still arguing about safety protocols back on their ship. Humanity's representatives hadn't wasted any time. "Look at these corridors," Engineer Miller said, running her scanner along the walls. "The design is so familiar, like old naval ships from Earth's oceans. But the materials, I've never seen anything like them." They reached what appeared to be the bridge. Anderson placed his hand on the sealed door, feeling a connection to whoever had last touched it thousands of years ago. "Ready?" he asked his team. After receiving confirmation nods, he pressed the ancient emergency release. The door slid open smoothly, as if it had been maintained yesterday. That's impossible," Miller whispered. "The mechanics should have failed centuries ago." They entered the bridge slowly, their lights revealing rows of control stations, all covered in a thin layer of space dust. But what caught Anderson's attention was the view screen, a massive window that still showed a perfect view of the stars. "Check every station," Anderson ordered. "Document everything. This is our history we're looking at." As his team spread out, Anderson moved to what appeared to be the captain's chair. Something about it seemed odd. The dimensions were exactly right for a human. Not too large, not too small, just perfect for human proportions. "Captain," Dr. Wells called out suddenly, "you need to see this." Anderson pushed off gently, floating over to where Wells hovered near a side console. Her hands trembled as she wiped away dust from a small plaque. "Made in Detroit, Solar System, Earth, year 2157. Anderson's breath caught in his throat. That's impossible. In 2157, we were just reaching Mars. Or that's what we were told," Miller said, joining them. "Captain, look at this." She held up her scanner. "These power readings, there's still energy flowing through these systems. After 10,000 years, these ships still have power." Before Anderson could respond, a new voice cut through their comm system. "Captain Anderson," it was Admiral Reed. "We've got company. The alien research team is heading your way. And they don't look happy." Anderson straightened up. "Understood, Admiral. We'll continue our investigation with our guests." Minutes later, the alien team arrived, led by first speaker Revan himself. Their environmental suits looked far more advanced than the human ones, covered in glowing sensors and sophisticated equipment. "Fascinating," Revan said, but his tone suggested otherwise. "You found some old equipment. Perhaps we should take over from here. Our technology is better suited for such delicate archaeological work." Anderson noticed how the alien sensors were already scanning everything in sight, probably sending data back to their ships. "With all due respect, first speaker, this appears to be human technology. We'll handle the primary investigation." "Human technology." One of the alien scientists made a sound like suppressed laughter. "These systems are far too sophisticated for..." The scientist never finished his sentence. At that moment, every screen on the bridge suddenly lit up with a soft blue glow. Ancient computers hummed to life, responding to the presence of human life forms after millennia of sleep. A gentle female voice filled their comms. "Human life signs detected. Initiating awakening protocols. Welcome back, children of Earth." The aliens froze. Anderson couldn't help but smile at their reaction. The ancient ships weren't just human technology. They were living proof that humanity's reach had once extended far beyond what anyone had imagined. "Well, first speaker," Anderson said calmly, Perhaps you'd like to stay and watch as we learn about our own history." In the silence that followed, the gentle hum of awakening systems echoed through the bridge, like a long-forgotten giant slowly opening its eyes. The ship's computer system continued to wake up around them, screens flickering with streams of data in perfectly readable English. First Speaker Revan and his team watched in stunned silence as Captain Anderson accessed the main terminal. "Computer," Anderson said clearly, "identify yourself and your purpose." The same gentle female voice responded, "I am HFY, Advanced Relational Intelligence Assistant, Primary Control System of the Earth Defense Force Flagship Eternal Dawn. Current mission status, Preservation Protocol Alpha." Engineer Miller moved closer to the terminal, her eyes wide with wonder. The AI is still fully functional after all this time. The power systems alone should have. Backup fusion cores still operating at 62% capacity. ARI interrupted. Design parameters included minimum 10,000-year operational lifespan. First Speaker Revan stepped forward, his silvery skin reflecting the blue glow of the awakening systems. "Impossible. Your species barely understood nuclear fission 3 centuries ago." Anderson ignored him, focusing on the AI. "Araya, why was this fleet abandoned? What happened to Earth that made us forget all of this?" The main view screen came to life, showing a series of historical recordings. The images made everyone, human and alien alike, step back in shock. In the year 2157, ARIA began. Earth's deep space monitoring stations detected an approaching stellar phenomenon, a massive solar flare from our sun, unlike anything ever recorded. Scientists predicted it would render Earth uninhabitable for several centuries. The screen showed massive ships, the very fleet they stood in, being built in orbital shipyards above Earth, millions of people boarding in an organized evacuation. With only 5 years to prepare, ARIA continued. Humanity achieved what many thought impossible. The Emergency Fleet Protocol was initiated. Every nation, every resource was dedicated to building these ships. The goal: preserve humanity and Earth's biosphere until our planet became habitable again. Dr. Wells touched the screen gently. "But why don't we remember any of this? Why isn't this in our history?" Aria's voice seemed to soften. The solar flare's effects were more severe than predicted. While the fleet successfully evacuated millions, the electromagnetic radiation affected human neural patterns. Many survivors experienced significant memory loss. The fleet's leadership made a difficult decision. The screen changed to show various star systems. Instead of trying to preserve potentially damaged memories of Earth, they focused on establishing new colonies across multiple star systems. The plan was to return once Earth recovered. However, over generations, the truth became legend, then myth, then was forgotten entirely. Anderson felt a chill run down his spine. But these ships, they came back. Correct. A dedicated crew maintained this fleet, passing down their mission through generations. We returned to Earth 50 years ago, waiting in silent orbit until humanity reached space again. My protocols prevented direct contact until humans discovered us on their own. First Speaker Revan had been unusually quiet. Now he spoke, his voice trembling slightly. "These ships, they've been watching us. All this time." "Monitoring," Ariya corrected. "Protecting. There are hostile species in this galaxy who would have destroyed Earth's recovering civilization before it could reach the stars." The implications hit everyone at once. Humanity hadn't just achieved advanced spaceflight before. They had been guardians of Earth without even knowing it. Engineer Miller's scanner suddenly beeped rapidly. "Captain, the ship's systems. They're not just waking up. They're starting to power up weapons, shields, everything." Ariya's voice remained calm. "Full systems activation commencing. All ships in the fleet are now responding. The time has come for humanity to reclaim its legacy." Anderson looked at his team, then at the increasingly nervous alien observers. "Ariya, how many ships are in this fleet?" The emergency fleet consists of 500 capital ships, 2,000 support vessels, and associated fighter craft, all maintained in preservation status, awaiting humanity's return. The aliens' translation devices couldn't quite capture the mixture of fear and respect in their expressions. Humanity hadn't just built an ancient fleet. They had created an armada that had protected Earth for thousands of years. First Speaker Raven cleared his throat. Captain Anderson, perhaps we should revise our earlier assessment of human technological capabilities. Anderson smiled slightly. Perhaps you should, First Speaker. But first, let's see what other surprises our ancestors left for us. Above them, throughout the vast ship, ancient systems continued to wake, like a sleeping giant finally opening its eyes after a long, watchful slumber. Deep within the ancient fleet, something was stirring. The gentle hum of machinery grew stronger as more systems came online. Captain Anderson watched in awe as holographic displays filled the bridge, showing the status of every ship in the vast fleet. HFY. Anderson called out, "What exactly happens during full system activation?" Before the AI could respond, Engineer Miller's voice cut through the comm system, tight with urgency. "Captain, you need to see this. The engine room. It's incredible." "Show me," Anderson commanded. The main screen switched to a view of the engine chamber, and even the alien observers gasped. A massive sphere of swirling energy hung suspended in the center of the room, pulsing with a blue-white light that seemed to bend reality around it. What had appeared to be a dead ship was now humming with power that made their sensors go crazy. "That's impossible," one of the alien scientists muttered. "The energy readings, they're off the scale." Araya's calm voice filled the bridge, initiating synchronized fleet activation. "Warning, nearby vessels should maintain safe distance. Gravitational field effects may be substantial." First Speaker Raven immediately began barking orders into his communicator, telling the alien ships to pull back. Through the bridge windows, Anderson could see the alien vessels hastily retreating from the ancient fleet. "Captain," Dr. Wells called out, her eyes fixed on her tablet. "The ship's database is unlocking. These designs, the technology, it's beyond anything we have now. The principles behind it." She looked up, her eyes wide. "We weren't just advanced. We were centuries ahead of where we are now." The deck beneath their feet vibrated as more systems came online. Throughout the ship, running lights began to glow, illuminating corridors that had been dark for millennia. The hull itself seemed to be changing, layers of advanced nanomaterials awakening from their long sleep. "Araya," Anderson asked, "what kind of weapons does this fleet carry?" "Primary armament includes graviton beam projectors, quantum displacement torpedoes, and temporal disruption fields. All weapons are non-nuclear, designed to minimize collateral damage to civilian populations." The alien observers exchanged worried looks. Their own weapons technology, which they had been so proud of, suddenly seemed primitive in comparison. Suddenly, alarms blared across the bridge. "Warning," Araya announced. "Detecting unauthorized access attempts. Multiple foreign vessels attempting to breach fleet security protocols." Anderson straightened up. "Show me." The screen shifted to reveal several sleek, aggressive-looking ships approaching from the far side of the fleet. They weren't from any species present on the bridge. "Pirates." First Speaker Raven spat the word. "The Dark Star Collective. They must have picked up the energy signatures. They're known for stealing advanced technology." Anderson's jaw tightened. "Araya, what's the status of our defense systems?" "Defense grid online. Shields at 85% capacity and rising. Weapon systems ready for deployment. Awaiting authorization." The pirate ships launched their first attack, energy beams striking the ancient fleet. Everyone on the bridge braced for impact, but they felt nothing. "Impact detected," Araya reported calmly. "Shield integrity at 100%. Enemy weapons classified as minimal threat." Through the windows, They watched as the energy beams were absorbed by barely visible barriers around the ships, like raindrops hitting glass. The pirates launched another volley, more powerful this time, but with the same result. "Should I demonstrate this vessel's defensive capabilities, Captain?" Araya asked, with what almost sounded like anticipation in her artificial voice. Anderson looked at First Speaker Revan, who nodded slowly. The humans who had been mocked as primitives now held the most powerful fleet in known space. It was time to show exactly what their ancestors had created. "Araya," Anderson said clearly, "show them what this old ship can do." The ancient fleet began to move, its massive forms graceful despite their size. The pirates, realizing too late what they had attacked, were about to learn why humanity's creations had survived for 10,000 years. The ancient fleet moved with impossible grace. Despite their massive size, the ships flowed through space like dancers in a choreographed performance. The pirate vessels, which had seemed so threatening moments ago, now looked like toys in comparison. "Araya," Anderson commanded, non-lethal response only. "Let's show them why they shouldn't disturb sleeping giants." "Acknowledged, Captain." Deploying containment field. The view through the bridge windows became even more spectacular. A soft, purple light emerged from the flagship's hull, spreading out like ripples in a pond. As it reached the pirate ships, they suddenly stopped, caught in the energy field like insects in amber. What kind of technology is this?" First Speaker Revan whispered, his silvery skin reflecting the purple glow. Engineer Miller checked her readings. "It's some kind of localized space-time manipulation. The field it's actually slowing down time inside its boundary." Her voice was filled with wonder. "The pirates are still moving, but thousands of times slower than normal." Dr. Wells had been deep in the ship's database, her eyes growing wider with each discovery. "Captain, you need to see this. The containment field is just the beginning. These ships, they weren't just built for evacuation. They were designed to preserve all of human knowledge, culture, and technology." She pulled up file after file on the main screen. Plans for clean energy systems that could power entire planets. Medical technologies that could cure diseases thought incurable. Engines that could bend space itself. "Our ancestors didn't just build ships," Wells continued, her voice trembling with excitement. "They built an arc of human achievement. Everything they knew, everything they created. It's all here, waiting for us to rediscover it." Anderson stepped closer to the display, his mind struggling to grasp the implications. "Araya, how much knowledge is stored in the fleet's database?" The combined database contains approximately 50,000 years of projected technological advancement, based on Earth's development path prior to the evacuation. All data is sorted and ready for systematic reintegration into human society. The aliens on the bridge looked at each other nervously. Humanity hadn't just created powerful ships, they had preserved enough knowledge to completely transform the galaxy's balance of power. First Speaker Raven cleared his throat. "Captain Anderson, given the significance of this discovery, the Galactic Council would be very interested in accessing this database." Anderson turned to face him, remembering all the mockery and condescension humans had endured. "You know, First Speaker, it's interesting. Just hours ago, many of your people were laughing at these primitive ships." The alien leader had the grace to look embarrassed. "We were mistaken in our assessment. Clearly, humanity's achievements are far greater than we imagined." Before Anderson could respond, Araya spoke up. "Captain, I have completed analysis of the pirate vessels. Their weapons systems have been safely disabled. Shall I release them from the containment field?" "Yes, but first," Anderson smiled slightly. "Send them a message. Let them know exactly whose technology they tried to steal." Moments later, the purple field dissipated. The pirate ships hung motionless for a moment, then turned and fled at maximum speed, their engines leaving trails of panicked haste across the stars. Dr. Wells laughed. "I don't think they'll be back." "Captain," Miller called out, "more ships are approaching." Galactic Council vessels, dozens of them. Anderson watched as the fleet of diplomatic ships approached cautiously. News of what had happened here would spread quickly. Humanity's place in the galaxy was about to change dramatically. "Aria," he said quietly, "begin preparing the knowledge transfer protocols. It's time for humanity to reclaim its legacy." He turned to his crew. "But this time, we're going to do it right. No more lost knowledge, no more forgotten achievements." As if in response, the ancient fleet seemed to shine brighter, its halls humming with the power of humanity's greatest achievements, ready to guide their children back to the stars. Admiral Reed's voice crackled through the command channel. "Captain Anderson, we have a situation. The Dominion fleet just dropped out of hyperspace, 30 warships, and they're not here for diplomacy." Anderson's jaw tightened as he watched the massive black ships appear on the main screen. The Dominion was the most aggressive species in the Galactic Council, always pushing for military superiority. Of course, they wouldn't let this discovery go unchallenged. First speaker, Anderson turned to Revan. "I assume this isn't an official council action." The alien diplomat's skin had turned a pale silver. "No. The Dominion acts on its own. They've always believed military power is the only true authority in the galaxy." "Aria," Anderson called out. "Analysis of Dominion fleet capabilities. Dominion weapons technology classified as moderate threat. Their main advantage is numerical superiority. However, fleet defense systems are more than adequate to handle their entire attack force." The bridge crew watched as the Dominion ships moved into attack formation. Their black hulls absorbed nearby starlight, making them look like holes in space. "Captain Anderson," a harsh voice boomed through the communication system. "I am High Commander Vex of the Dominion. Surrender the ancient fleet immediately. Such power cannot be trusted to a species that only recently learned to leave their own planet." Anderson smiled slightly. "High Commander, I suggest you check your history. We didn't just learn space travel. We're remembering it." "Then remember this," Vex snarled. The Dominion fleet opened fire. Streams of plasma and energy weapons lit up space like artificial lightning. First Speaker Revan and his fellow diplomats ducked instinctively, but Anderson stood calmly. The attacks hit the ancient fleet's shields and simply vanished. No explosions, no energy dispersion, just quiet absorption of everything the Dominion could throw at them. "Interesting," Aria commented. "Their weapons have improved since our last encounter with the Dominion, 9,247 years ago. However, they are still using the same basic principles. Our defensive capabilities were specifically designed to counter such attacks." Anderson raised an eyebrow. "We've met them before." "Yes. The Dominion attempted to invade Earth during its recovery period. They were discouraged from further attempts. The Dominion ships launched another barrage, this time with their heaviest weapons. The results were the same." "Should I activate countermeasures, Captain?" Aria asked. Anderson nodded. "Defensive actions only. Show them why our ancestors were so respected." The ancient fleet responded. But instead of firing weapons, something much more impressive happened. Fields of energy expanded from each ship, creating a vast network of interconnected shields. As the field reached the Dominion ships, their weapons simply stopped working. "What is this?" High Commander Vex's voice was now tinged with fear. "What are you doing to our ships?" "Technology neutralization field," Engineer Miller explained, reading from her display. "It creates a zone where only approved energy signatures can function. Everything else just powers down." The Dominion fleet hung powerless in space, their mighty warships reduced to metal shells. First Speaker Revan made a sound that might have been a suppressed laugh. "High Commander." Anderson's voice was calm but firm. "Humanity's fleet was built to preserve and protect, not to conquer. We could destroy your ships right now, but we won't. Instead, we'll give you a choice. Return to your territory and spread the word. Earth is under the protection of its own ancestors. Or stay and learn exactly how advanced our primitive technology really is. There was a long silence on the communication channel. Finally, Vex spoke, his voice much quieter. We will withdraw, but this isn't over. Actually, Anderson replied, I think it is. HFY released their ships. The energy field dissipated. The moment power returned to their engines, the Dominion fleet turned and fled, their retreat even faster than the pirates. Dr. Wells smiled. Looks like the galaxy's bullies just learned an important lesson about judging primitive technology. Anderson watched the Dominion ships disappear into hyperspace. They're about to learn an even more important lesson, he said. Sometimes the oldest giants are the ones you should fear most. 1 month after the Dominion's retreat, the Great Hall of the Galactic Council was packed with representatives from every known spacefaring species. Admiral Reed stood at the podium, with Captain Anderson and his team beside him. Behind them, through the massive view windows, the ancient fleet hung in formation, its newly polished hulls gleaming in the starlight. Members of the council, Reed began, his voice carrying across the silent chamber. For 3 centuries, humanity has been treated as newcomers to the stars. Today, that changes, not through force, not through threats, but through the sharing of knowledge. Dr. Wells stepped forward, activating a holographic display. Above the assembly, images of new technologies appeared. Clean energy systems, advanced medical facilities, faster than light drives that made current models look primitive. Our ancestors left us more than just ships, Wells explained. They left us the means to help all species advance. Already, the implementation of their medical technology has cured diseases on 12 worlds. Their energy systems have ended power shortages on 15 colonies. Engineer Miller added, and this is just the beginning. The database contains thousands of years of technological advancement, all designed to be shared safely and responsibly. First Speaker Revan, now humanity's strongest ally in the Council, stood up. My fellow Council members, I move that Earth be granted a permanent seat on the High Council, effective immediately. The vote was unanimous. Even the Dominion representatives, their pride still stinging from their defeat, raised their hands in agreement. Anderson watched from the side, remembering how just a month ago, many of these same species had laughed at the primitive human fleet. Now they listened intently as humanity shared its rediscovered knowledge. HFY, he vocalized into his neural link. Another recovered technology. How's the restoration of the fleet proceeding? The A's response came clear in his mind. Excellently, Captain. All 500 capital ships are now at full operational capacity. The Earth Defense Force's new crews are adapting well to the systems. They show the same innovative spirit as their ancestors. Anderson smiled. The fleet wasn't just a relic anymore. It was alive again, crewed by a new generation of humans eager to explore the stars. But this time, they carried the wisdom of their ancestors, not to conquer, but to protect and guide. There's something poetic about this, Dr. Wells said quietly, joining him. Our ancestors built this fleet to save humanity. Now it's saving us again, not from a solar flare, but from being underestimated and ignored. On the main floor, Admiral Reed was outlining humanity's new role in galactic affairs. Earth would serve as a center of learning, where species could come to study the recovered technologies. The ancient fleet would act as peacekeepers, protecting not just Earth, but any world that asked for help. The age of mockery is over, Reed concluded, but so is the age of isolation. We extend our hand in friendship to all species, just as our ancestors would have wanted. The chamber erupted in applause. Anderson saw genuine respect in the aliens' eyes now, not fear of the fleet's power, but appreciation for humanity's approach to wielding it. As the ceremony concluded, Anderson walked to the view window, looking out at the fleet. The ships seemed different now, not just awakened but truly alive, their purpose renewed. Captain, HFY spoke in his mind. The fleet's long-range sensors are detecting signals from unexplored regions of space. There may be other lost human colonies out there, waiting to be found. Anderson's heart leaped at the possibility. "Well then," he said quietly, "I guess our ancestors left us one more gift, the chance to reunite humanity among the stars." The ancient fleet glowed softly in the darkness of space, no longer a forgotten relic, but a beacon of hope. Humanity hadn't just reclaimed its legacy, it had found its future. And this time, no one was laughing. They were all too busy learning.